Market Day in Guatemala. Every market town a magnet, drawing people and products from all around. What sets them on their way each week? Backpacking, hitching rides, crowding onto buses. It's more than a chance to buy and sell. The market is a meeting place, a tradition. It's the lifeline of this rural culture. These little pigs going to market at Sololá, high above Lake Atitlán. Once a Mayan stronghold, and still every Friday one of the liveliest marketplaces in western Guatemala. It begins just after sunrise. The area's crops and crafts gathered into the wholesale market at the edge of town. These cabbage growers left their fields before dawn to hitch a ride on one of the empty trucks that's come up from the city. The trucks will go back loaded with produce to supply urban retailers. Looking around the market, it's hard to see anything but a chaos of color and movement. But behind this apparent confusion is a clear picture of this society and its economy. There is a marketing structure. First, there is the produce. Sololá is famous for its onions. Suppliers come here to buy them wholesale. Prices and profits are modest. Onions, a cent apiece. Locals who resell them in the capital may make 2 cents on each one. An early bird shopper from town out for wholesale bargains and freshness. This is primarily an Indian market, and except for a few signs of the present, it's the same Mayan market that survived the Spanish conquest. Most families around sell whatever they handcraft or grow in order to buy what else they need. They raise carrots, beans, cabbage, corn, and wheat. But here, over 2 kilometers above sea level, onions, for example, take 9 months to mature. Families work their plots of land all around Sololá. Isidro Tweet and his sons grow wheat, which they can harvest in 4 months. They market through one of Sololá's native cooperatives. Here, close to town, almost every available acre is under cultivation. Western Guatemala is volcano country. That means soil with a high mineral content from volcanic ash. It also means tremendously steep terrain and special management. Terraced plots are meticulously tended. To cope with the dry season, water is diverted from springs and streams into a network of shallow ditches. Irrigation by hand. These small family holdings mean money for Sololá. There's a tax on everything sold in the market. Romeo Sanchez is one of the tax collectors. A Ladino, he has Spanish blood. By tradition, he makes his rounds with 2 Indian guards, symbols of native authority. The tax, 5%. The goods, valued with one quick and expert look. The pennies collected add up to over $20,000 a year. A lot for Sololá. The wholesale market also deals in handcrafted products. This crockery is from Totonicapán, about an hour and a half away, a bustling valley town that's filled with artisans. Here is the pottery works owned by Don Frederico Lopez. One of his potters, Miguel, has been working here for 25 years. In periods of peak demand, he can turn out 300 bowls a day. His daily wage, $2. Local clay, fashioned into a whole range of household wares. 7 a.m. At the shore beneath Sololá, arrivals from across the lake, coming to buy and sell at the retail market. People from Santiago Atitlan, San Pablo La Laguna, from towns all around. Those who make a business of selling rent stalls for up to $6 a month. The retail market is just down the street from the wholesalers. It's in a little park. Local families join in as well, wives bringing whatever they can spare to sell. A basket of vegetables, half a dozen turkeys. They may make a few cents here, but more important, they become a part of the almost ritual gathering that is the market. Now, wholesaling is tapering off. The last chance for flowers while they're fresh. One of the arrivals from across the lake. Doña Apolonia Shahir. She's come over from San Pablo to buy pottery wholesale to retail at home. She bargains with the middleman who's bought his pottery directly from the artisans in Totonicapán. Around 7:30, the produce trucks head out for Los Encuentros on the Pan American Highway. From there, they can easily reach the city of Quetzaltenango in time for today's retail marketing. Some have a longer haul, about 120 kilometers, to catch tomorrow's market in the capital, Guatemala City. Up here, high above Lake Atitlan, just when the early morning chill is off the air, the wholesale trade is about done. Doña Apolonia, packing up her pottery. She expertly cushions her morning's investment against the perils of a bus ride all the way down to the shore and a boat trip right across the lake. Onions being packed by this Sololá man will have to withstand a longer busing all the way to the capital. These pots, bound for San Pablo, will sell there for about $8 more than they did here. Guatemala's currency at a par with the U.S. 1 quetzal, $1. 10 centavos, a dime. That's what Doña Apolonia pays a mozo, a porter, to load her goods onto a bus for the half-hour zigzag plunge down the slope to catch her boat. This brings her transport costs to $3.30 and cuts her profit from $8 to less than $5. But she doesn't come to market just for money. She couldn't imagine not coming. A woman will carry a bundle on her head, but an Indian man always uses the tumpline, with its leather strap molded to the shape of his forehead by the weight on his back. Sololás Indians have a municipal voice, with their own mayor and their council offices, where every Friday morning the elders are very much in view. keeping an eye on the life of their people. There's always variety. Dried chili peppers, dried fish, Totonicapán leather, and from coastal plantations, bricks of sugar wrapped in rushes. Pigs from Chichicastenango are fetching $10 apiece today. And cattle from 70 to 110. One of the big draws, a city slicker medicine man. A real show. Entertaining the locals with the novelty of a barker sales pitch. There have been changes, but different hometowns can be identified by what's being worn. Men from Nahuala wear kilts over their bare legs. They weave these checkered woolens at home in their mountain towns. They sell to the men of Sololá, who wear their kilts over their trousers. Some say fish are getting scarce, native species crowded out by introduced bass that are harder to catch by Indian methods. These crabs were bought from fishermen at San Pedro, across the lake. They set out baited lines every morning and evening. Crabs are hidden in the sand in the heat of day. The catch is packaged near shore with lakeside rushes. Crabs sell here for $1.50 a dozen, but in Sololá will bring $2, a 50-cent profit for the middleman. In Santiago Atitlan, the same rushes, dried, are woven into mats, patatas. This 15-year-old can make a dozen large ones in a day. Diego Puju, his younger brother Nicolas, is 12. They each make $1.50 a day. The dried material is stockpiled because the rushes can be cut only in the summer. The market price for each patata, $1.75 to a tourist, $1.50 to one of the locals. Every Friday at Sololá, the town band. No Indian goes without his machete. This one made in Manchester. Chili peppers and commercially woven ribbons from Totonicapán. Black and white tie-dyed threads for weaving with vivid yarns to create Sololá's own particular pattern. A strikingly intricate design. Home weaving, increasingly replaced by commercially produced cloth. Tie-dyed threads are a common sight along the roadsides of Salcajá, not far from Totonicapán. Here, there's a long tradition of commercial weaving. People specialize. Some bind the threads with string, some dye them, with the tied portions protected from the color. Others untie them afterwards. Here, tie-dyed threads are being arranged so they can be threaded onto the loom in the right order, with part of the fabric's pattern already showing in the threads themselves. There are many weaving workshops in Salcajá. This boy works for Don Gilberto Lopez. His employer jobs out all the stages in the dyeing and weaving process, paying for threads and dyes as well as the labor in each stage. Don Gilberto himself threads up the loom according to his own design, an especially complex one. Each of his weavers gets paid $4 a corte, a skirt length. If a man averages 3 cortes a week, he can make about $2 a day, with long, hard hours of work. By the time Don Gilberto has paid for it all, he has to get at least $25 a skirt length to make any profit. The traditional textile market is at San Francisco El Alto, which feeds the region's weaving to other market towns. Don Gilberto sells here, but he's finding it increasingly hard to keep weavers working on a regular basis. The best workers have been lured to better jobs in new industries. Of the ones who remain, few are reliable. Workers can make more at the thread factory, where they start at almost double what Don Gilberto can afford. Here, too, all the men work split shifts to give everyone some daylight hours to devote to their plots of land. Back in Sololá, it's almost 11. The market shows cultural invasion. Foreign embroidery patterns replacing native designs. Not like these painted boxes. They're still decorated in traditional style. Hope chests, backpacked part of the way from Arguenta, by Don Gregorio Mendoza and his sons. Most Indian women still do some of their own weaving on hand looms. Here, commercially made wooden parts for the traditional backstrap loom. Each weaver can play endless variations on the specific designs developed centuries ago in her own village. This pine log is on its way to a mill between Argueta and Totonicapán, raw material for the box and furniture makers of the region. Wood is getting scarce in parts of Guatemala. Most of the pine in this area has been reserved for woodworkers around Totonicapán. The Mendoza family are the only Argueta carpenters who sell in Sololá. They use about $1 worth of material for each chest and refuse to sell one for less than $10. Sololá was devastated by Guatemala's earthquake in 1976. Until then, for some decades, all this retail activity had been carried on inside. The quake destroyed the market building. So, back to the old ways, the open-air market. Good luck charms and miracle cures. One of the Friday regulars. She's been coming here for longer than anyone remembers. Bricks of sugar, panela, now out of their reed packages and going fast. Cinnamon sticks from the dry goods man. And, of course, the famous woolen blankets from Momostenango. It's up in the mountains, a little over 2 hours north. Good sheepland. Momostenango's own market is on Sundays. Over 400 blanket weavers live here, and the whole town is involved in the craft. Many of the buyers here are middlemen, taking advantage of the low prices at the source, as little as $6 a blanket. The same blankets, resold at other markets, will command from $20 to $40. As usual, there's some hard bargaining. Momos Tenango's blankets are one of Guatemala's biggest tourist items. Each one takes about 3 days to make. A good weaver can manage 100 in a year. An Indian doing his own work never thinks of his own labor in terms of money. So if a weaver uses less than $5 worth of materials, he doesn't mind selling his blanket for $10 or less. New patterns and dyes, but still some of the black, white, and gray of natural wools. Now, though, the traditional tartan-like designs are hard to find. A market like this one supplies its own specialties to other markets, like the one at Sololá. By 11:30, the band is through. Local musicians, uniformed and paid by the federal government, are now accepted as part of the market's mix. Activities are tapering off by the time most tourists appear. A blanket from Momos Tenango, a valued souvenir. The asking price, $25. They settle on 20. In time, the dealer might accept 15 for a blanket that cost him around $7 at source. Some dealers now even take traveler's checks. Buses are loading and pulling out, some down to the docks, others up into the mountains. The goods that flowed into Sololá early this morning are now on the move again to other towns, perhaps to other markets. Doña Apollonia and her pottery head for home. Near the buses, corn for sale, still Central America's staple. But ever since the conquest, change has entered Indian lives, and many changes quite contentedly adopted. Market day brings so many into town, it's a good time for get-togethers. Perhaps sometime at the cemetery. The dead are fondly remembered, and their graves frequently visited. It is not a sad occasion, more like a family gathering. Death is not a separation. Members of a cofradia, one of Solola's Indian brotherhoods. Each group is centered on a different saint, and together they look after the church and stage all the ceremonies and processions in the religious calendar. Membership in a cofradia is a mark of respect, and to be elected leader is an enviable honor. Today, the Brotherhood has paraded to the cemetery, and now the members, men and women, are on the way back to the cofradia home. The Indians have long been individualists. Each community's craftsmen have their own specialties and styles. Now, with modern transportation, Different communities have access to the products of others through the markets such as Sololaz. By noon, the marketplace has all but emptied, and the town settles down until next week. Market day is over, and so is this open-air market. A new market building has been under construction to replace the one destroyed in the earthquake, and today it's being finished. Sololaz Market will go on, but starting next Friday, it won't be quite the same.